Hello, I'm Colleen Holder and this is Let's Talk Tobago. Today we're at James Park in Upper Scarborough, a space that got its name from one of this island's political icons, APT James. Many felt it was an honor he deserved because he demonstrated his love of Tobago and for Tobagonians. Mr. James was elected to the Trinidad and Tobago Legislative Council 3 times between 1946 and 1956, staying there until 1961. The inscription here at James Park describes him as a laborer, teacher, proprietor, businessman and philanthropist. And at the center of this park there's an engraved representation done by renowned sculptor the late Louis Kimmy in honor of APT James. What a fitting tribute. Well, we'll tell you more about the history of this square as our program continues. But first, let's look at our stories this week. A fiscal package designed to raise productivity and make this island competitive. A major push to provide housing for Tobagonians and the plans in place to protect our fisherfolk.
Talk Tobago, ready to provide your community with the highest degree of professional services in emergency response. Contact Talk Mariah at 660-0065 or Talk Speyside at 660-6096. Talk 24-hour services, emergencies, medical or other. Talk Pro, the new face of emergency management.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tobago, and thanks for joining us in Scarborough at James Park, which has as part of its setting the Tobago House of Assembly Legislative Building. This means this space is not only named after one of this island's foremost political figures, it's somewhat within the boundaries of a structure that's the meeting place of the Tobago House of Assembly, as well as the seat of Tobago's executive and legislative councils during the colonial days. A visit to James Park provides you with a great view of the legislative building, its Georgian architecture and a glimpse at its 186-year-old history. And it's right across there our next story started taking root. The occasion, Budget Day and the maiden presentation of our young Finance and Enterprise Development Secretary Joel Jack. This year's fiscal package is framed under the theme, Responding to the People's Mandate. But what exactly does this mean? Here's Kisan Braffett with the details.
Within this 55-page document is the economic plan for Tobago over next fiscal year. It's the blueprint for what has been described as an important first step in response to the mandate given to the Tobago House of Assembly. This plan envisions a Tobago that's competitive and less reliant on the national economy.
These budget estimates have articulated a series of steps that we believe are consistent with the manifesto and that if adequately financed will redound to the benefit of all the people of Tobago. We are well aware that we have set the bar particularly high, but that is our God-given mission. We are also well aware that we cannot do it alone because the effort requires the full and meaningful participation of all the people of Tobago.
But in order to do this, the Assembly needs just under $5 billion from the central government. Some of this funding will be used to enhance and rebrand Tobago's tourism products, establish a Tobago Development Fund through the creation of what will be known as the Tobago Development Bank, set up a Tobago Eco Foods label, establish a University of Tobago, and rev up the marketing campaign to promote wellness and diet management. Key to this fiscal plan is the establishment of a Tobago Development Bank, which the Secretary of Finance and Enterprise Development believes will ensure this island gets the kind of funding it needs for large private and public sector projects. The THA also wants to set up a real estate investment trust. The idea is that this trust will give Tobagonians a shot at owning real estate on the island. But that just touches the surface. In an effort to ensure Tobago remains safe, there are plans to allocate finances to upgrade the operations of the port, increase electronic surveillance on the public roads and thoroughfares, and beef up traffic management. It's also envisioned that the operations of the Tobago Project Development Authority will be formalized over the next fiscal year, while both the Tobago Productivity Council and the Tobago Research and Development Council will be established. This is but a snapshot of the Assembly's plan to diversify this island's economy, increase productivity, and improve the socio-economic situation of every Tobagonian. But none of this will be possible without the development funding the THA is requesting. I'm Kisan Brathwaite for Let's Talk Tobago.
And in this new fiscal year, housing is high up on the priority list, and this is partially because of these numbers staring back at officials. A waiting list with the names of over 6,000 Tobagonians who are all requesting THA housing. To meet this growing demand, homes have been built and state plots and acres acquired, but still more needs to be done. It's the reason the focus has now turned to purchasing private lands. Let's join Omadara Mills to find out where some new communities will soon be springing up.
In the near future, hundreds of Tobagonians will have a place to call home on this piece of real estate. 63 acres of lush pasture lands at Mount Pleasant Road, valued at $73,500,000. Henry Archer lives opposite the private lands purchased by the THA. He says that he's in favor of the lands being used in a way which can benefit the people of Tobago.
It's a very, very good thing because there are lots of lands that I find is wasting so far.
Private lands at Roxborough and Delaford are the other purchases made by the Assembly. Some of these acquisitions were made on the recommendation of the Division of Settlements and Labour after it received over 4,000 applications from persons wishing to access THA-constructed houses.
Well, it's good to this time everybody has to try to stand on their own, because I can't be living on my mother all the days that I like.
With the lands at Mount Pleasant Road already purchased, the Assembly is moving ahead to invite proposals to have hundreds of houses built for Tobagonians in this area. Canby resident Leon Matthews says he understands why there's a need for this initiative.
It's the most important thing. Having a house of your own is very good, because when you're renting, remember, it's your money that paying somebody else. But when you have your own house, therefore, you will support your own self.
With a population of 60,000 people on the island and the housing demand rising, funding for the island's housing program is a top priority for the Assembly. Land has also been acquired from Friendship Estate and the Tobago Race Club. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
And there's a new initiative to assist Tobago's fishermen. This proposal is being driven by a desire to offer them another layer of safeguard. As you might be aware, a few weeks ago, well-known fisherman Gordon Eastman perished at sea. The Coast Guard said they received a trouble report the very day he went out in his pirogue. 2 days later, Mr. Eastman's body was recovered off the waters of Castara. No one wants a similar situation to occur, and steps are being taken to assist our fisherfolk while they're at sea. Davia Chambers reports.
These fishing facilities were initially built to give fishermen involved in commercial sales a clean, safe environment to ply their trade. But now, here will have an additional feature, a communications and command center which will collaborate with agencies such as TEMA and the Coast Guard to assist fishermen who experience mishaps at sea. This means there will be constant communication between officials at the Fisheries Department and the fishermen using GPS and wireless radio systems.
Yeah, well, that's a very good thing. If we get that would be nice. Because in drift season, look how much man does go away for drift season. Understand? Sometimes gains a contact Coast Guard, they look then and see the weather. So it's a very good thing.
Kendrick is especially happy with this decision because he says when fishermen run into trouble out at sea, they need to get assistance quickly.
What happened, me break down and me call fisherman on cell phone, me see a pass, but them don't answer the phone and see. A lot of them don't answer the phone and see.
But with the communications and command center in place, situations like this should soon be a thing of the past. The division has indicated that in addition to the GPS systems it plans to put in place, the Department of Fisheries will use color codes on the boats so they can be easily identified. But none of this will be left to chance. The department will also be training fishermen and members of its team who interact with the fisher folk. Their concept will be realized through what's known as the Tobago Fisheries Training Center or the Buku Training School. At present, there's no activity here at the center, but the idea is to get it started so that fishermen like Kendrick can enroll.
Yeah, well, that will be good because me have a GP, me know for user.
The school will train fishermen in proper seamanship, modernize fishing techniques, safety at sea, and navigation. I'm Davia Chambers for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's time to take a break, but do stay with us because we're going to give you a tour of the newly renovated Mason Hall Community Center. You're viewing Let's Talk Tobago. Welcome back to James Park in Scarborough, the venue for Remembrance Day ceremonies and the place that Tobagonians gather every November to pay tribute to those who served in World Wars I and II. The ceremony includes the posting of sentries and standard bearer and the laying of wreaths at this cenotaph. It's also the starting point for the parade of the armed forces and several other organizations that leave from here to begin their march through Upper Scarborough. But let's leave it there for now to tell you it's safe to eat the mutton and lamb you enjoy. If you're skeptical, you don't have to take our word for it. Here's the assurances you need from trained professionals in this field.
You may have noticed that there has not been the sale of any sheep for breeding from the Blenheim and the Studley Park sheep farms for quite some time. Well, it's an effort to stop a bacterium known as Cassius lymphadenitis or CLA that has reached Tobago. The THA's sheep rearing unit stopped the sale of all breeding stock to farmers when the disease was confirmed back in April 2012. But that was not the only measure the unit put in place.
We did try to quarantine the animal to prevent the disease from spreading to other animals. After that quarantine took place, we decided to test all the animals to see the disease status on the farm.
The disease affects mainly the lymph nodes and becomes noticeable to the eye when it takes the form of an abscess on the sheep's neck or head. Contamination only occurs when the abscess ruptures. The CLA bacterium is not passed from ewe to lamb, or in layman's terms, from mother to child. And since the disease was confirmed last year, all of the infected animals have been successfully treated. None have died of the disease. The unit always practiced sound hygiene and safety measures when dealing with the animals.
We always make sure that any animals that are being sold from any government station do not have any internal parasite, external parasite. We also do routine testing on Unis and brucella. So before this disease was discovered on the farm, we always carried out routine checks to ensure that the animals that we sell is free of any disease.
But this is not all. There are other procedures in place to ensure these farms adhere and observe strict guidelines. And until all the animals at both farms are cleared as healthy, sales will continue to be suspended. What all this means is that the unit has effectively stopped any unhealthy animal from these breeding farms being sold to farmers who rear the sheep for consumption. This protects the consumers and ensures that the mutton and lamb which reach the marketplace is safe to eat. I'm Umadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
A place that allows you to give back to the community. It's a center that has been around for a long time, but it's been given a new lease of sorts. Over $500,000 has been spent on this place to make it usable, but it means there's another option for this community to meet and socialize.
The new reality for residents of Mason Hall. Their community center got a facelift. Today they have a new kitchen, a fresh paint job on the outside and inside of the building, a new ceiling, doors, windows, and a new plumbing. For some, the move is long overdue and holds the promise that the center will now be able to fulfill the purpose for which it was built back in 1964.
That purpose, I'm certain, is to the service of the community of Mason Hall and its environs. We have come here to take this building and said, listen, this building should only be used for this purpose.
She's urging all members of the community to be accountable for the use of the refurbished center. It's envisioned that here will be used to foster the performing arts, such as these acts in the village. It's also designed to offer adult educational classes and lessons in the culinary arts. The upgrade of the center costs over $500,000, and the THA hopes it will provide a platform to empower the island's citizens and transform Tobago's communities. I'm Davia Chambers for Let's Talk Tobago.
When you think of a day at the races, horses and fashion, hats and fascinators in particular come to mind. But in the Trinidad and Tobago context, it's not as black and white, and that's thanks in part to this island adding its unique culture to the sport. Today, many look forward to the unique races in Tobago, but even if you've never been able to make it to the celebration of the goat and crab races here, there's a chance to see the goats in action in Trinidad. If you missed that too, here's Juliet James with a recap.
More than 3,000 Trinidadians braved the threatening rains to celebrate Tobago Day at the races at Santa Rosa Park in Arima. The two high-stake races for the day, the Blue Food Festival Top of the Class Stakes, with a purse of $100,000, and the Fort King George Heritage Park Eric Colt Durant Memorial Stakes, with a purse of $150,000, was won by horses, one for the road, and free passage respectively. Both races were sponsored by the Division of Tourism and Transportation. But the major highlight of the day, the goats and the jockeys. In the first of two Tobago goat races, Goat Fiery Footsteps leaves the other goats behind to claim victory.
Well, it's an easy process, I find, the key thing is about starting.
The second race came around 4 p.m. with Goat Thunderbolt leaving the pack and seizing first place. The crowds were thrilled to see goats racing on a track normally reserved for horses. Many say goat races should be a permanent fixture of race days in Trinidad.
An entire day, either Saturday or Sunday, just for goat racing.
Bringing up peace to Tobago to Trinidad, which is nice for us.
I would like to see the goat race more often and prevalent in Trinidad.
Event coordinator at the Division of Tourism and Transportation, John Arnold, says the race is one way to raise awareness about Tobago.
What we've really done is really raise the awareness of Tobago from the culture, from the culinary, from the artistic, the event entertainers, and then the goat racing, which is part of our culture and very unique to the Caribbean.
And despite the occasional showers throughout the day, the crowd stayed until the last race, milling around to consume all of Tobago's cuisine and entertainment. From the Division of Tourism and Transportation, I'm Juliet James reporting for Let's Talk Tobago.
We're taking another break, but on the other side, a taste of what's in store this year's Heritage Festival. This is Let's Talk Tobago. Thanks for staying with us. Today we're at James Park in Scarborough, the home of the Eternal Flame. The flame was commissioned on the 1st of August 2012 in celebration of the 50th anniversary of Trinidad and Tobago's independence. It's meant to not only inspire Tobagonians, but to represent hope, clarity of thought, and the brightening of perspective. And we're asking you to keep an open mind as we leave our location to share the myriad of culinary flavors that reflect the diversity of Tobago's heritage. It's a taste of this island's famous curry crab and dumplings, soups and blue food, a twist to indigenous food. But it's also a test of the culinary skills of some of the best cooks in Tobago.
Carla Ann Williams can boast of being one of the island's best cooks as she's crowned Iron Chef at the annual Tobago Culinary Festival, winning a cash prize of $10,000. For the second consecutive year, Ms. Williams has been able to get the judges' nod for her on-the-spot creative meals, mixing tradition with science.
What I did was ground provision hash brown using, all the local dasheen and cassava, Irish potatoes, those kind of things that are available to us, including a little bit of apples, some onions, and bringing it together. Also added bacon in that to give it a bit of crunch.
Just 5 points separated the winner from second place winner Brian Batiste, who also had the distinction of being the only man in the Iron Chef category.
We had a chicken roulade with seafood, force meat, and sweet potato croquettes with julienne veg. I wish I could have done better. I know where we fell down. I know where we could have done better. But it's done. It was fun. I'll do it again.
Stephanie Woods placed third in the competition. All participants in the Iron Chef category had an hour and 40 minutes to prepare a main course and dessert. Other winners at the Culinary Festival are Speyside High in the schools competition and Arlene Pereira in the cooks competition. Head judge Deborah Sardina Metivier was in high praise of all the competitors.
Well, I think that the ability to utilize indigenous ingredients in a very, our Caribbean food is full of flavor. It doesn't mean hot. It means just great tasting food and layers. The ability for somebody to understand how to use those flavors, the right amount, the right balance, with the right texture, whether it be protein, starch, or veg, and complement a full plate says a lot.
Competitors in all categories were judged on flavors, textures of food, portion size, sanitation, and overall technical skills while creating their dishes on the spot. Cultural entertainment included popular calypsonians such as Johnny King and the Mighty Shadow, while local percussion group Drummers of Tomorrow and Cats and Jammers kept a well-fed crowd dancing to the beat of African drums and steel pan music. From the Division of Tourism and Transportation, I'm Juliet James reporting for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's now a staple on Tobago's calendar and it's only a few weeks away. The Tobago Heritage Festival is fast approaching, but what's new this time around, especially now that it's in its 26th year? Here's Omadar Mills to tell us.
The Salaka Feast from Pembroke, the boat christening from Blackrock, and the old-time Tobago wedding at Mariah. These are just some of the activities which persons expect during the Heritage Festival. And under this year's theme, Community Treasures Reflections, communities are seeking to look at and reminisce on their valuable assets.
We're telling you that there are treasures in every community. The issue is we have to find it. And sometimes we are too busy seeking other things and forgetting to look back within ourselves, to look back within the communities, to go back to the sayings and to go back to the histories and to go back to all the things that brought us forward now.
14 communities are expected to participate in this year's festival. For some, it will be their first time in years, but they are using the opportunity as an avenue to add new aspects of the island's culture.
There is Camby Mount Pleasant, who is doing the Harvest Festival, or the reenactment of traditional Harvest Festival. We have the big one that is nestled in the history of Tobago and in eastern Tobago, the Belmana Riots.
Another is an interactive heritage village at Fort King George. But this will take place pre-Heritage Festival on July 8th and continue for 3 months. The launch of the 2013 Heritage Festival saw persons getting just a taste of what's to come with a cultural parade through the streets of Scarborough. The festival officially starts on the 12th of July and runs until the 1st of August. I'm Omadar Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's an international triathlon with 3 sporting disciplines: swimming, riding and running, and it's now in its 9th year. Tobago played host to this event, which included Olympic and sprint distances, a 5K run and a kids triathlon, just to name a few, all in one day.
And they're off, swimming into the choppy waters of the Colander Bay, also known as Turtle Beach. All vying for the Olympic and sprint distance in the Rainbow Cup Warriors Triathlon. After doing the 1 or 2 lap swim, athletes had to change gears to complete the rest of the course. Event director and coach Jason Gooding tells us what the athletes are expected to do.
The course goes from the Heritage Park, goes up towards the Plymouth intersection, takes a left as if you're going to Plymouth, you go 500 meters, you do a U-turn, you come back to the Plymouth intersection, you take another left as if you're going up to Bad Hill, you go 700 meters up that way, turn around, and you come all the way back down to the Heritage Park where you do a U-turn. And it makes it very spectator-friendly.
But there can only be one winner. Matthew Wright of Barbados finished the combined sports in the Olympic distance in 2 hours, 3 minutes.
To win is amazing. At first, I was like, I'm going to really push the swim, get out, and I was going to ride the first 4 laps hard and then kind of gauge where I was. And then, I realized I had a pretty big gap, so I was able to, relax a bit on the second half of the bike, try and keep drinking and keep refueling because it was hot.
But the heat didn't stop the 21-year-old. He showed off his fitness level as he is also the winner of the 5K run, completing it in 16 minutes. Sharing winner's row is American Kelsey Withrow, who finished the Olympic distance in 2 hours and 15 minutes. Withrow retained her title as she's the first woman to cross the finish line for the 2nd consecutive year.
It was pretty hard from the start. The heat and the humidity is really, really tough for me. So, oh, here we go. I got a flag. It was really, really fun. I liked keeping up with the guys. To run my own race, not pay attention to what anyone else is doing and just focus on myself.
Other winners in the Rainbow Cup Warriors Triathlon is Nicholas Mitchell, completing the sprint distance in 1 hour, 7 minutes. Team Tri-Elites in the sprint relay distance. 16-year-old Sachin Sankar in the 3,000-meter open swim. Kids Triathlon 7 to 9, Christian Chin Lee. Kids Triathlon 10 to 12, Jean-Marc Grandison. And Sebastian Boss, finishing first in the 11 to 15 category. From the Division of Tourism and Transportation, I'm Juliet James reporting for Let's Talk Tobago.
And it's time to have your say, the segment of our program where we hear from you, the viewers. The Secretary of Finance and Enterprise Development presented a wide-ranging budget and fiscal package he hopes will begin the task of making Tobago less of what he described as a subvention-based economy. He says the measures he announced will help with the economic diversification of this island and give every Tobagonian an opportunity to be more educated, better trained and more informed. But he needs close to $5 billion to make this happen. So we're asking, how do you feel about the sum being asked for to run the affairs of Tobago? This is what you said.
I still believe that $4.9 billion is a small amount to what Tobago need and supposed to have.
What I say about the budget ain't too bad. It ain't bad at all.
I feel happy about it because right now we need that support for Tobago to run Tobagonians need. Although we're saying that, money kind of hard, but we need that to support Tobago.
Well, boy, I think that money is too small for Tobago. We want more money than that. So I ask for 10.
I don't think that any sum of money, that sum of money is too much for Tobago. I'm thinking that we need more. We need to catch up. But on the other hand, we need to know exactly how would you spend that money to develop Tobago and Tobagonians on a whole.
And that's how we bring this week's edition of Let's Talk Tobago to a close. Do remember you can send us your comments to information@tha.gov.tt or visit us at www.tha.gov.tt. Like us on Facebook and add us to your YouTube playlist. I'm Colleen Holder. On behalf of all of us at the Department of Information, have a safe and enjoyable week. And as we go, let's leave you now with a final look at James Park in Scarborough.